Hello ladies and gentle ladies, welcome back to another railroad development stream. I am a bit late, I apologize for being late, but you guys can blame Alex for that because he forced me to play a siege game with him. So you can blame him for that. But yes, we are still here. We are still going to be doing good old railroad. I am just a little bit unprepared, so I just need to close some things so my PC doesn't completely and utterly die. Hello Fortnite, welcome to the stream. Hello Lego Agalos, welcome to the stream. Yeah, okay, everything else I think is fine. Okay, let me also do the Discord announcement, which I almost just forgot about, but I did just remember at the very end. Hello, Armadillo Mike, welcome to the stream. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of things to go over today because I've done a lot on Railroad. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I will show you the GitHub commit stuff in a second. And you guys will see. Let me just do the Discord announcement. Okay, that's done. So why do I have so many things open right now? I don't know. What do I have open? Oh, I have YouTube open, that's why. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, why is my camera there? What the hell? That is not what I expected. As I say, guys, I'm a little bit unprepared. Also, turn some lights on, I guess, so that we can see. No, not AO. It's because my camera, the friggin' holder I have, doesn't properly fit my monitor, so over time it slowly friggin' moves down. I have to move it all the time. Very annoying. I should probably just get some proper one, but I don't know, man. If I had a 3D printer, that would be very easy, but I do not. Anyways, Railroad, yes. So I've done a lot, and I will show you the GitHub stuff here. So there's 141 changed files, plus this commit that I have already made, which has 42 changed files. So I've done a lot of stuff. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you guys everything I've done, purely just because a lot of it doesn't work right now, which is kind of what we're going to be doing today. So what we're doing, for anyone who is fairly new, or just hasn't been caught up, I guess, we're currently rewriting the entire project creation system. So that's everything from actually inputting the details to create your project, to the version fetching, to literally like the actual project creation process as well. So I'm rewriting that entire thing. So for example, if I show you just like, yeah, sure, this class even alone, right? This is how many lines? 700 lines. This used to be, I think, about 1,000 lines, but I have shortened it a little bit. I can't shorten it anymore though, unfortunately, just by the nature of all of, well, at least not right now. Later on I'm going to rewrite this entire thing as well, because I haven't actually changed much in this class specifically. You can see that everything in here now uses like async stuff as well. So for example, if I go in here, just grab some properties, but that uses all this async code here somewhere. Here it is. And it's a whole thing, but that's not really what I've been working on. The thing I've been working on is all of this. So this is kind of caching for Switchboard, which uses SQL database as this one. But I mean, you can see all the files here. So yeah, what I wanted to do today is to change how actual like nodes are displayed. So we're changing some pretty core fundamentals today. We're going straight to the roots of things, and we're going to change how things are actually visually displayed. So let me just clean up my Project Explorer real quick so we can close some things that we know we're not going to need, which is a lot of this stuff, because I've been working with a lot of stuff, so we're not going to need most of this. Okay, that's already a lot better. Okay, so what I want to do, and I did briefly talk about this in Discord, so if you're not in the Discord, you can join the Discord, linked in the description down below, and we have the Railroad channel. So what I want is when we have a node, so let's go into, I'll try and find you an example would be the best thing to do. I've kind of shuffled things around, so I don't even know myself where a lot of things are right now. Because I've kind of just been dragging stuff where I thought made sense, and then I realized maybe that doesn't make sense. So that's going to change a lot in the near future. But okay, this is probably the best example we have. So consider in here you have a you know, let me show you. Can I show you? Kind of, yes, I can. Let's run Railroad. We can actually run it. It does compile, or at least it should compile. I don't think I changed anything since last time. You know what I will do, actually? I am going to do something. I'm going to commit my changes. Which seems silly, but I'm actually, like, I'm going to commit and push them. Which is silly, because, like, it's not... I haven't done what I wanted to do, but the reason I'm going to commit it is because I don't want to accidentally lose it. So I would rather just commit it, because it does actually compile, which is all I need to safely commit it. So I'm going to commit these 141 files, plus the other ones that are already in the thing. I'm going to push those. Just get those out of the way. Basically, that's just saving my progress, though, because I can't accidentally lose anything I've been working on. So you'll see here that if we go and hit new project, we have some problems, right? Pretty major problem, I would say, is that the entire project creation thing is no longer here. That's fine, though. As not fine as that sounds, that is not fine. No, that is fine. I mean, it's perfectly fine, because of this error that we're getting. Now, this error is basically saying, if we read it here, cannot invoke Minecraft version.id because Minecraft version is null. So fundamentally, this is because of async code. So if we look at Minecraft version here, where is this being called? So list versions for Minecraft version. So this is to list all of the mapping channels that a Minecraft version can have. For example, in, you know, Fabric, you have Parchment, Mojmap, and Yarn. So it would list all of the different valid... Oh, no, this is actually the other way around. This lists the versions for the channels. Or does it? Wait, what the fuck is this for? What is this for? List of string. Oh, yes. Okay, this lists the versions for a specific channel for a specific Minecraft version. Okay, that's what it does. So it takes in... So this is already a mapping channel. It takes in the Minecraft version, and it says, for that Minecraft version, in this channel, list all of the versions that we can use. So for example, Moj map, it's just going to list the Minecraft version. Basically, that will be the only version available. And we can actually see that. So if I go into, I think I called it mapping channel registry, and if we go Moj map, you will see here that it just returns a singleton list of the Minecraft version, because that's basically the mapping version. Now if we go and look at where this method is called, so where we're actually listing them, we will see where the problem occurs very, very quickly. So it's happening here. So list of string new versions. Okay, so this is when the mapping channel is trying to transform the mapping version combo box. Because, and the reason it's doing that is because I think because of the, is it going to tell me? It's because of this, right? No, not this. I was hoping it would tell me. What's this? Mapping version. Channel to list versions for, no. And then this is the same thing, I'm guessing. Oh, I see. So this is where it's trying to do find valid mapping channels. Okay. Okay. So what it's doing is it's going through the mapping channel registry. Okay, actually this might be a lot easier to fix than I thought it was. This could be significantly easier to fix than I thought it was. So I think actually the issue here is that it's trying to load the mapping channels before they exist, right? Because it's saying here, failed to check if channel supports Minecraft version. That only happens because of mapping channel registry to find valid mapping channels. I think that's fine because that should class load all of this. Never mind. I'm actually not entirely sure what is causing this error. Oh, the music player has already errored. That was quick. But it's fine because it's still playing. Yeah, I'm actually not entirely sure what this error is caused by. I thought I understood it, but maybe I don't. Either way, I think it can be fixed by having them load synchronously. Because currently they're all loading asynchronously, and I think the problem with that is if you have, for example, the mapping versions try and load before the Minecraft version even exists, then I think that is what's happening. Basically, it's saying the Minecraft version doesn't exist, so the mappings are trying to load before the Minecraft version loaded. I'm pretty sure that is the issue. Now, there's several solutions to this. The first one would be to take this code, or specifically this line right here, and move it into some async caching block, which could work, but it's suboptimal. It doesn't really solve the problem. What I want to do, and this is what I talked about in Discord, is I want to actually create some kind of like skeleton node. And that will allow for async loading, and then we can have a skeleton node depend on another skeleton node. So that's kind of what I want to do. It will make sense once we're working on it. So let's actually go ahead and create this. Now I'm actually going to do this in Railroad Core. I'm going to get that put in Railroad Core now rather than trying to do it later. So actually for now I'm not going to do skeleton. I think we will do just like a spinner, just because that's so much easier. So let's have a loading node wrapper. Is what we'll call it. And we'll probably come back to naming it something different, but for now that's fine. And then this is basically going to be it needs to be something that can have a single bit of content, and the single bit of content can just replace itself. What's the best node for that? I want to say like an anchor pane, but that's probably not ideal. Can we just have a region? Is a region a parent? I always forget. It is. Okay. So we could use a region. And that also means we can easily kind of expand the region. So let's have a private final. We want like, we'll just go with an MFX progress spinner for now, but we might change that later. Yeah, that's fine. And we'll just set that to new MFX progress spinner. We also want the actual node, so private. Now we don't want to just create the node though. We want like a supplier of the node, or no, not really a supplier either. Hello Spino, welcome to the stream. I don't think we want a supplier. I think we want a maybe a task of a. I do n extends node and do a task of n task, or we could have a like a completable future, but it needs to somehow be able to depend on something else. Okay, we'll come back to it. Yeah, we'll have something like that, so we can have like an error state as well. That's fine. I mean, this is basically what we want, but it's let's just create like some fake error node thing for now, just so it stops complaining. Sure, Copilot, that will work, I guess. We just need something. It doesn't really matter what it is right now. That should do. So that was just say task.getException. Yeah. That'll be fine. That'll do for now. Now what we do want to do is we want a way to add a precondition or something. The problem we're going to have here is that the way my forms work is that they are not nodes. So, like for example, when I'm creating a checkbox component, this isn't a node. This is just a form component, which is just nothing. It's just a class, which probably does massively complicate things. The nodes are actually created down here when the form is created. So the nodes that I think are created when you call .build. Oh no, they're not. They're called when you do create UI. Right. Okay. What we could do. Okay. This is going to involve some rewriting, but what we could do is we could make the form component class actually have some kind of precondition that defines this is going to be hard. This is going to be really, really hard. Trying to think, what is the best way to achieve what I want to achieve? See, I think this would be really easy if it wasn't for form components, but I don't want to ditch form components just because they're so incredibly useful. Like being able to just say like that this is a text field, this is where it's going to store the data, this is what it's going to have as the translation key, this is the prompt text, this is what will validate it. Like that's so much incredibly easier than how it used to be. I mean, there's an alternative solution to this entire problem, and the alternative solution is that we work on something I'm calling onboarding. And what that is effectively when you go to create a project, it doesn't just give you the massive like list of fields that you have to input. Instead, it will actually ask you for each individual one at a time. That might be a better solution. Now that's actually really easy to do. The only issue, of course, is making that available for plugins to modify, but I think that's probably okay as well. For now, I'm not going to develop that in core though. You know, let's do that. Let's do that today. And then some other time we'll come back to like actual loading nodes. But if we're doing this, we don't need loading nodes, so we'll come back to them. Or I'll figure it out in between streams or something. So let's first drink some water. Make sure you are hydrated, guys. Very important that you drink water. Yeah, okay, so this is going to be a lot of infrastructure. Now, generally, I will admit to you guys, I'm not good at coming up with infrastructure when I'm streaming. Don't know why, I'm just not good at it. But we're going to try. That's the best we can do. So, okay, let me create a new package. And let's call this onboarding. And then let's create a new class, and we will call this okay, let's think. What do we actually want? We want some kind of sequence of forms, basically. So, you know, let's get paint up. Actually, I want paint.net. I don't like paint. We're going to draw this out. Do you ever feel lost in abstractions? All the time. All the friggin' time. It's very easy to get lost in abstractions. Which is why I try not to abstract too much out. But for something like an IDE, you kind of have to. Because otherwise you end up with like so much repetitive code and it becomes extremely hard to manage. You really want it so you can just change something in one place and it changes everywhere. So like there isn't much choice. Oh, I should really stop the IDE because otherwise that is going to lag out my PC. I was probably lagging that entire time, wasn't I? Okay, so what do we want? So let's create the window, right? Let's say this is our window. Okay. Boom. that's the window. Let's create a nice... Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's create a nice title bar as well, just so this is clear that this is our window, right? Sure, that's good enough. I'm not going to spend too much effort on this silly little drawing. So the idea of this is, and let's actually make this a little bit darker, admittedly, because this is too bright, and we don't like bright. Thank you. It's not nice. That'll do. No, let's go a little bit darker. Okay, so let's think about this. So basically what I want is you get into the onboarding, and I'm actually gonna expand this canvas out because I kind of know where I'm gonna go from here. So we'll say let's just give it 1600, and I'm going to duplicate this because I just want to show you guys two different kind of parts of the onboarding. Good enough, right? So the first thing would be like the Minecraft version, right? Oops. If we look at the current Fabric project details, the first thing it asks you for is no, it's not the Minecraft version though. Okay, the first thing it asks you for is the basics actually. So like the basics includes the name, of course, the path, whether or not you want to create a Git repository, and the license. So those are the basics. So what we can have it is, so you got the name and the path. Oh my god, why is it doing this? Right. So my idea is we would have some kind of like thing in the middle. Let's just make it distinct. And this would just give you the fields that you want, right? So this would be like the two first fields. So we'll start with those two that I just mentioned. So we'll have the project name like that, and then we will have the project path, and I will just bring that up, and then it will go to the next one, right? So we'll have some kind of button, I suppose, down, I don't know exactly where we would put it. Possibly here, I guess. I'm not a designer, as I'm sure you guys know. We could say next. And then it would bring you to the next one. So let's just, for simplicity's sake, we'll put it over here, and then we'll put the next one there, even though they wouldn't be on the same screen, to be completely clear. But if we did like, how can I make it clear that they're not on the same screen? Sure, that works. Lovely arrow. So then the next one would be something different, of course. So that would be the one after project name and path, which I think was the, what was it? Name, path, and then it's whether you want to create a Git repository. I'd actually probably put that one at the end. License, once again, I'd probably put that at the end. So next thing we would probably ask would be the Minecraft version, right? So what it would go ahead and do is it would say Minecraft version, right? Like that. And then you would obviously have your drop down, right? Ignore my lovely paint.net drawing, right? But you would also have this time a back button. This is a pretty basic onboarding system, right? You've probably used it in most applications you've done, or you've used, or most websites nowadays have this kind of thing. It wouldn't look like exactly like this, but either way, you'd go through that entire thing, and then you maybe get to a different screen, which would maybe have multiple of these. So my idea is that you would have maybe like 4 different like cards, right? You would have, say, let's see, like contacts info, right? And it would have maybe like, or at the top right, you'd have maybe like 2 out of 3. Okay, that looks really weird. That's not how I wanted it to look. You'd have like a 2 out of 3 at the top right, right? And then you'd have some weird description, I don't know, like beans, right? You could have, say, what else? You could have Maven chords, which could maybe be like 1 out of 3. You could have what else? You could have something else, but the point is that these wouldn't be the actual things. These would be, let me just make this clear so that these are like actual ones as well. But you basically click on these and it would bring you to one of these type screens, right? So you would have you'd click this one and it would bring you, it wouldn't bring you to that one, but or that one might bring you to that one. But you still have your like next button and your back button. So we can just say back, next. Basically, this is my idea for how it should work, right? You guys might not understand what I mean, but it will help me understand what I mean. So how do we actually do this? Well, obviously we need to have different stages, right? Which is kind of what I have for like the actual project creation, but it's slightly different because that's like tasks. This is more like, I don't know, just like data you have to enter, right? I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think if there's any like real world examples of this that I can easily show you guys. I mean, Discord has an onboarding system, but it's kind of, kind of like Discord onboarding, I guess. See if I can find one for like exactly what I'm looking for. And obviously, it's usually like a mobile thing, but I think it would work quite well in this specific circumstance as well. The question is just like, how do I form the data around this? Or like, how do I actually structure this as like a as a thing, right? How do I represent the fact that you have to do this, then it brings you to this, and inside of that you can go to this, or you can go to this, you can go to this, or this. I mean, it has to be some kind of like, some kind of tree, effectively. Or you just say that, like, I guess you could define them all as like sections, and you could say that these sections all depend on this section, and that section depends on this section. And then because of that, that means that this one will always show first because it has no dependence. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. I mean, either way, there's gonna have to be some kind of quote unquote section. But section probably isn't the right name, but I don't know. It will probably be fine for now, I guess. I mean, we could call it like steps, but you know, step is probably fine. Step, I think, makes more sense, right? So let's, sure, you know, let's go with step. So let's say we have an onboarding step. Okay, this could be. I'm just trying to think. Would we probably an interface? Realistically, primarily that will be because this is going to be moved to Railroad Core. So we don't want implementation detail, but yeah, so we'll have like an ID for a step, so we can easily just identify it. We're gonna have a title, yeah. We could have a description, sure. We are gonna want some kind of validation. Copilot is a little bit correct there. Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, should it have a result though, or should it just have like a predicate or some other I guess the question is, like, what would the result be? If the result shouldn't be the data, right? Because the data, the point of the data is that the data is going to be passed along until it reaches the very end. So for that, we'd have some kind of like context, and yeah, that would be the best way to handle that. I think instead of this, first of all, we should have a form. I think we can use forms for this. I don't see why not. So that would be the form, and then we could have, you know what would be a good thing to do, since we're in JavaFX, of course, would be to have a Boolean property. So it can just be a read-only Boolean property, and that would just be like whether or not it's valid. And then we can have some kind of on enter. Now obviously that will have to take in some kind of context, so we can have a onboarding context, and we can have an on exit as well. And then we can also We could, I think a good thing to do would be to have some kind of like, some way to do something before we exit. Like, we have on exit, fine. I think it'd be good to have some, something that we can wait for before it moves to the next one. So some kind of like, the best thing that I always do for that is a completable future. It doesn't need to return anything though, so it would just be a void one, but that's fine. And basically this will be, what do we call this? Before next. Sure, that works, I guess. Before previous, before back. Does that make any sense though? Not really, to be honest. No, I don't think we need that. Let's create the context. So let me close some things as well. So here's the onboarding context. Now this will just be a class, and this will be final as well, because we don't want this to be like modified or anything. So it's just going to have, first of all, a map of data. Not that one. That one. Of string object, because obviously we don't know what type it will be. Data is equal fx collections dot observable hash map. And then we probably want some kind of executor that we can reuse. I think that's perfectly reasonable. It just saves, you know, every single friggin' task having to do that. And then, yeah, just constructor, which will only take in the executor, at least for now. I don't know, we might have other stuff later, but that's fine for now. And then we can just... I wanted to do @getter, but I think we could just do data executor. I prefer that anyways. A nice thing that it would be good to do would be equals and hash code, and then to string. Like that. We'd like a way to like get something from the data as well. So we can just do at suppressed warnings unchecked, and then we also want put as well, like that. Okay, next we want a way to like to define the actual flow of the onboarding itself, because obviously that's not defined here. So we need to find that somewhere. So I think let's just create like a I mean, I think in each step should probably define the next step rather than having the next step define the previous step. That probably does make more sense, admittedly. I don't know why I originally thought to do the other way around. So let's create like a flow definition, or onboarding flow definition. Might scrap the onboarding at some point, we'll see. Once again, I think this can be final. I think that's perfectly reasonable. We need some kind of map of routes. We want a map of string, which would be like the ID, to the next ID, basically. Yeah, we don't just want an onboarding step though, because we need the actual context to be passed into that step. So let's just do a string to, I don't know, some kind of like a function that can give it the context. Have you had a nice day, bro? Not bad. I've done like 5 hours programming today. I did like 8 hours programming yesterday. I've been going kind of crazy, man. That's all I've done today, though. I think. I don't think I've done anything else. Have I done anything else? Don't think so. Yeah, I have been going crazy. I can show you guys my wanker time if you want. Yeah. Look at this. 27 hours, 30 minutes over the past 7 days. I've done 4 hours 50 today. I did almost 9 hours yesterday. I did 4 hours the day before. I only did an hour on Wednesday. I think that's because I was out all day on Wednesday, so didn't get much done. 3.5 on Tuesday. Hour 20 on Monday. 4 hours 20 on Sunday. I'm probably going to get this up to, honestly, maybe up to 8 hours today with this stream, which is kind of crazy. All on Railroad, man. All on Railroad. Anyways, we want some kind of thing for like the next route. Next route, yeah. Some kind of thing for the next route is what I was going to say, but yes, that's what we can call it. I think that's a perfectly reasonable name. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So then basically a next route, which will be the routes. I'll enter, boom. And this is just a linked hash map, because obviously we're only ever going to fetch one when we also want the next, so a linked hash map makes the most sense here. What parts of Railroad are consuming this much development time? The project creation, man. I've rewrited hello, that is not English. I've rewritten so much of it. Like if you look at creation step, you can see I've created all these steps. Originally it was just one massive class. I can even show you. If we go history and we look at, find it, fabric project creation pane. Right, this is what it used to be to like create the actual projects and like set it up and stuff. It used to be all of this. Right, so almost 700 lines. And now it's basically a bunch of different steps. And if I go into where the steps are actually created, I think that's in here. So I can literally now just say this step, then do this, then do this. And I've got the same for Forge as well. Forge is slightly different, so there are some like duplicate steps. They're not quite duplicate because they are different, but yeah, just doing all of that, man. And I've been writing it from scratch as well. I haven't just been copying the previous one, because the previous one had so many issues. For example, like update fabric mod JSON. Originally it used to actually write to the JSON, like the JSON objects, but now I'm basically turning it into a Mojo, and I'm just modifying that. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with all of this. I don't know if it works. I haven't got around to testing it yet. Well, I say I haven't got around to it. I literally can't, because it, you know, the other stuff doesn't work. But like update Gradle files as well. Does all of the Gradle stuff. Also, what's the other big one? Gen sources. Look how simple this one is. All that Gen sources is Gradle.run tasks. In the project directory, it runs Gen sources. That's it. And nice and simple. I've made that one. That one's great. I'm very happy with that one. Rename classes. I've done a thing in here, and I'm not sure if it's gonna work. But I've basically made it so originally it used to just do a bunch of like find replacing, which was not good. But now it's actually using Java parser, and it's like parsing the class and then setting the package declaration, and then turning that back into a string, and like setting the class name as well. It might work. I don't know. I'm least confident about that one. I really hope it works, because if so, that's great, but it might not. Also, things like download Forge MDK. This one actually now also gets the SHA 256, so it's able to verify the checksums, which originally it didn't do, which is quite important. What else? You got like extracts. This one's nice and simple. I think it just zip.unzip. That's it. That's all you have to do. Update Gradle properties. This one's a bit of a hefty one. It has to update all of the key pair values in the Gradle.properties file. What else? You got like what's the other big one? There's another big one somewhere. I mean, you got like this one, which has to figure out what the MDK version should be, because, for example, like 1.21.1, you have to download the 1.21 MDK, I think, or something like that. It's really weird. So I had to do this whole thing, which is a pain, but there's another big one. I can't think of which one it is. It's the one you least expect to be super big. Is it this one? Yeah, this one. The one that actually like updates the Gradle files, because it has to do settings.gradle. It has to create all the bindings as well. So the bindings are different for Fabric, Forge, and NeoForge, and it has to get. It's just a whole mess. But the reason I've done all of this, not only to make it simpler here, even though this is great, but it also means that plugins can just add a step in here, right? So basically, plugins can call this method, so this add provider method, and this adds a creation step provider, and this basically lets you add wherever you want. So you can just add like before a specific step, you could add after a specific step, you can just remove a step if you want. I don't know why a plugin would do that, but you can. You could replace a step, so you know your plugin might modify a step to do something else, I guess. You know, and that's kind of what the reason I've done that. You can also say like what project types a specific step supports. Say, you know, you only want it to support Fabric or something, then it would do that. Basically, that's what I've been doing, and it's been a whole thing to do all of that. But I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, once again, I don't know if it works, but if it works, then I'm very happy with it. So hopefully we're going to see if it works today. Would be fantastic. Like, you know. Have you enjoyed it? I actually have. I've enjoyed this probably way too much. I mean, I kind of have to have enjoyed it, having spent, you know, 27 hours on it this week. I mean, the part I haven't enjoyed, admittedly, is everything relating to do with switchboard. Initially, I was like, yeah, this is fine. You know, eventually it just became a chore, because it's just so much repetition getting switchboard to work. Well, this isn't what I'm looking for. I'm trying to get or default, I think. Because we want to figure out what the next route is, but if there isn't a next route, we need to default to like some finished state. So you know, we need to take in that current ID, and then yeah, I mean, we can just ignore that, to be honest. This one isn't relevant. And then that would just be like finish. And then we can just say get next route, and I'll take in the context. Yeah, and basically that will handle that all for us, so that's fine. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've been enjoying it, because a lot of it has just been writing abstractions, and I don't really get the chance to do that much anymore. Like all of the services, for example, like they all have this like back-end interface that they're using. And the reason I did it like that is so that in the future, we're going to have a custom like scripting language that you'll be able to use for the project creation. So you'll have something like, I haven't decided exactly how it's going to look, but I'm thinking something like you have different steps, right? So you have like you'll have some way to define a step. So you'll have like step I don't know exactly how you define this, but like you'd call it, for example, create directories, and then you'd say something like you say like files dot create directory, and you'd say like I don't one second, I haven't planned exactly how the scripting language is going to look, so I'm kind of just winging this right now, but it will be like a very basic scripting language. So you'll have like context dot project path resolves, you know, source main Java or something, or context dot context dot data dot what would it actually be? It would be project path plus context.data.project name, right? And then it would be you know, the next step, right? So you say initialize git repository, which would just be like git.init. And I don't know, maybe there'll be a way to define functions as well, just, you know, like function something like that, and then you'd have like if validate project name, you know, I don't know. Copilot's kind of doing most of the shit here. I realize this is somewhat looking like Python, but I don't know. It would be something like that. Anyways, I think that just means that like it's much simpler for plugins to modify it, right? And for us as well, even. But we'll see. You know, I don't know right now how that's gonna look, or if it even happens. It might not even happen, to be honest, because if the way that currently works, if it works fine and like really well, I might just leave it like that. Because right now I'm very happy with it, so it's just a matter of like if it holds up or not. Hopefully it does, but yeah, we'll find out. So what is the next thing? We want some kind of obviously registry. I think Uh, how should the registry work though? I don't know. I guess we just have a flow definition. We don't really need like a, well, I guess maybe the definition should define the different steps or something. But there needs to be some kind of registry, so once again plugins can modify this. That's the thing. We could create like a some kind of like onboarding process. Is that how you spell process? Yes, I think so. And this would have the onboarding flow definition, right? But you'd also have, more importantly, a map or a registry, maybe. No reason you couldn't have a local kind of registry in there of onboarding step, which would be registry manager. Let's create registry. That wouldn't really work though. I guess that could be created in the constructor. Sure. You could have something like this. So that would create your registry. And if you had like a string ID, you could do plus ID, which would make this registry unique, basically. Or something like that. I mean, I don't know exactly how I want it to work. I guess it doesn't have to be a registry. Like, the actual processes themselves could be a registry. So it could be a map of string to an onboard step, which would be the actual steps. Wait, didn't I already define that somewhere? That's the roots. That's the step. Am I crazy, or didn't I already define... Oh no, I didn't. I defined the roots. I didn't define the steps. Okay. So this could be like a... It doesn't need to be a linked hash map, I don't think. But it can be a new hash map. Right. What else do we want for a process? We could have like a name, because we don't have that anywhere else, right? There's like there's onboarding steps, which maybe have a name, but like the actual, I guess the process itself doesn't have a name, does it? That doesn't really make any sense. But we could have like a public how do we want to do this? We need a way to add steps. Although it doesn't really, it shouldn't really have a step. It should have a factory to create a step. So like a supplier of an onboarding step, rather than actually having the onboarding step. And then we could have like we can have like a public void Register step. We could have some way to modify the definition as well. Do we have anything like in the definition? We have add root, but we don't have a way to like put a root after a root. Yeah, see, that's kind of the problem with having like something linked is we can't just put something like, you know, with like a linked hash map, we can't just put something in the middle. You know, we can't say like root starts, you know, like you can't put something after something else. I guess that's the problem. Or can you? Am I being dumb? You might be able to. And you can put last, put first. And you can put. Can you add? Can you replace? Yeah, I don't think we want a map then, right? We just want like a root. But root doesn't have... It doesn't have a way to define it. What does next root have again? So it's string. So the flow probably shouldn't have like the... This is a string to a string. It should be more like a some kind of like... I think a map is fine. It just means that like we can't insert something in the middle of the map. Unless I'm being dumb. Am I being dumb? The only way we could do that is if we said, because I guess each one refers to the next, right? So because each one refers to the next, that means we could say, if we wanted to add something or something else. No, I guess that would only work if we could get the one before, and we don't know what the one before would be. I'm curious, actually. I kind of did this in the original Railroad. I don't know how I just remembered this. But in the old Railroad, I doubt many of you guys will remember. But we used to have like a kind of onboarding process. It was a little bit different, but it was effectively an onboarding process. And basically you'd like select the mod loader, you select like that kind of stuff. Let's see if I can find it. Projects, pages. Yeah, so you had a page. But then how did a page define the next page? That's my question. Was it just like... I guess that's not really helpful because... Yeah, I don't think that's relevant, actually. Because it wasn't extensible. It wasn't, you know, allowing for plugins to do that. You know, plugins were never... We didn't design any of the original Railroad with plugins in mind. So, it's kind of not helpful to look at anything old because it's not written in a way where it's meant to be extensible. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, actually, how it recommends I do this. Because it'll probably come up with something much smarter than I can think of right now. I want to say, like, I want plugins to be able to add steps before or after other specific steps. They could do this by targeting the ID. But how would they actually insert that step into the correct place? And see what it says. I just don't think a hash map is suitable for this. There's probably a better data structure, though, that I'm not thinking of. I feel like a linked list is the way to go, which is funny because everyone always says you're never meant to use linked lists, but I think there is a circumstance where that maybe is what you're meant to do. So what does it say? Option A, constraint-based builder. Plugins declare insert my step X after Y or before Z only when condition W is true. You collect all contributions, run a topological sort over the partial order. What? Okay, you've lost me. Show me the code, ChatGPT. What are you recommending? Oh god, this is incredibly confusing. Okay, basically what it's recommending is that we use a graph rather than a list or a map. Ugh. Option B, splicing helper. You want to keep your exact map or string to next root model, provide splicing utilities to decorate routes of compile time. Works for mostly linear flows. And so after I don't think that's a good solution either. You know, let's see with the entire thing. Let's give it the entire thing. you guys can watch it do its thing, I guess. We're gonna start from scratch. Wow. So I can actually give it the whole thing. That one. This one. And then what am I missing? This one? What am I missing? This one? No. This one? No. This one? What am I missing? You're missing one of them. Okay. So what I want to ask it is, how do you recommend modifying this so that plugins would be able to add a route after a specific other route, a specific other step, or before another step? It should be easy to define the flow as a developer and easy to modify the flow as a plugin developer. Let's see. Let's see what it comes up with. I'm just trying to think. I think probably a links list. But if not, it was probably right with the graph approach, I would say. But I think a graph is kind of unnecessary because, like, you don't need to have multiple ways that it can go, right? Like, that's just so much extra complexity. It just doesn't need that. Make the flow easier. Honey flow. Dang. An immutable flow. Here's a practical pattern that keeps your current concepts while making ordering and routing pluggable. So a onboarding flow contributor. It contributes to a flow editor. So this is just like a contract, right? So saying like these are the things it can do. So how does the actual implementation do that? So it has a list of string, which is the order. Okay. And then if it has the order, then what's the point in the map? What in the fuck? I think this is incredibly unnecessary, I can't lie. So what is it saying here? Add step, new welcome step. Thing is, I don't want it to, like, I don't want you to have to define a step and then define a route. I just want you to just be able to put in the steps, right? Yeah, the order that I add the steps should be the order that it does the route, ideally. A plugin's contribution. So let's look at what this wants to do. If editor has step account, insert after account, cloud sync with a priority of 10. Root logic. If user opted out, what do you mean they opted out? Skip to the next? Oh, so like if they didn't want whatever. Okay. Yeah, I kind of understand like what it's trying to do. I just don't know that I need it to be that complex. You know? We're not going to need conditional roots, and if we need it in the future, then we can kind of probably implement that specific step when we need it. But I don't see like that being needed ever, to be honest. I can't think of a case where like, I don't know, I guess maybe like for a different version of something you might have the next thing be different, but it's like, I don't know, it's a very specific rare circumstance where you would need that kind of thing. It should be able to simplify this a lot, I think. Just having like a list of string, right? Like that should be it, actually. Just a list of string, and a string maps to an onboarding step, right? Yeah, I should actually oops, I should rename the title of the stream as well, real quick, before I forget. Well, I mean, we are doing project creation, but it's onboarding specifically, so I think titling it onboarding would be a better title. There we go. Okay, what's it done now? Let's have a look. So a list of string order. A map of string to a supplier onboarding steps. That's kind of what we already have. And then there's an op. See, I don't understand this. Like why? Driving the flow. Okay, let's kind of try and figure this out. So we want some like contributor, right? So we're going to have the onboarding flow contributor. Is that how you spell that? I think so. Which is just an interface. So this is just a very simple void contribute, which will take in a flow editor. Onboarding flow editor, and then create a new class from onboarding flow editor, which is an interface, because this is just a contract. So we're basically saying like onboarding flow editor, add first, we're adding a string ID and a supplier of onboarding step, which is the step. And then we want add last, which is going to be the same. Then we're going to add add before, add after, and then yeah, a way to remove one. A way to see if one exists would be nice. So like a boolean contains, and then sure, a way to get one as well, although admittedly that should be a supplier of onboarding step would get it. Sure, that'll do for now. And then we have the actual flow, so we have the onboarding flow, and the flow just contains a list of string, which is the order, right? So step order, which will be equal to a new well, it doesn't need to be equal to anything, I guess. We can do that in the constructor. And then we want a lookup, basically. So a map of a string to a supplier of onboarding step, which is the step lookup, which is equal to once again, it doesn't need to be equal to anything because that we handled in the constructor. So we can do that. This just needs to be a copy, so list.copy of step order, and this needs to be a copy as well, so that, you know, it can't pass in something that's modified later, because that would obviously throw everything off. Then we want a public list of string step order and a step lookup. We don't really want the actual lookup itself, though. We want to just be able to look up a step. So supplier of onboarding step, which will be lookup. We'll take the string ID. Perfect. Okay, then we want the actual onboarding flow builder. So we create onboarding flow. Oops. Builder, and this implements the flow editor like that. Okay, so then we have a private final map of string to a supplier of an onboarding step, which is the step lookup is equal to a new linked hash map. We want the order, so by final list of string like that, and then we want a list of operations as well. The operation will be like what it does and where it does it. So we have a public record operation. We're going to have a an anchor, which is basically like the one it's basing off of. So like, is it before this one? Yeah, like is it yeah, like the one it's relative to, basically. And then the actual ID of the one we want to add or remove, I guess. And then we have the we could have a priority. It's just like, do we want a priority? Sure, we'll have some kind of like priority system. Because it might be like super important that this one is after this one, but it might also be like not important, right? So being able to define that exact order. And then we can just have like a type. And then we can have add before, add after, add first, add last, remove. Yeah, that's fine. Basically, all of these methods is what we've just added, but as enum types. That's fine. Yeah, and that's just the list of operations. That's fine. Then we want so okay, let's do add last first, because I think that's probably, well, sure, we can do add first actually. So we just want to like put it in there. We need to make sure it's unique though, and actually we're gonna need to do it for all of them. So let's do a like private void put unique, and then basically say if contains ID, then it's already registered, else put the ID basically. Oh, put unique. There you go. So add first we'll just call put unique, right? And then it will do the base order, so like the order of the actual steps themselves. We will say base order dot add 0 ID, and then just return this. Add first is a thing, isn't it? Yes, it is. When did you get 9k? I don't know. A while ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when I got it, but yeah, it was a while ago. A couple months ago, I think. Maybe many months ago. Don't know, to be honest. Okay, now that we've added priorities, actually, we're going to need those as well. So we're going to want onboarding flow editor, add before, string ID, string before ID, into priority. Do you get sponsors at 10k subs? No, that's not a thing. There isn't like some magical, oh, you hit 10k subs, suddenly you're gonna get sponsors. People get sponsors way before 10k subs. I've had a couple people reach out for sponsors, but like they've all been like a little bit dodgy. So I have always said no. Or actually, usually I just haven't responded, to be fair. Because they're like a little bit dodgy. Add before, add after. So add before. Yeah, add is a little bit deceptive. It's of like order of things, but I'm sure it's probably fine. So the one without priority will just have a priority of 0, right? So this will just be the same as calling add before base ID 0 step. Just like that one will be the same there. HelloFresh sponsored cooking stream when? Not anytime soon. I don't think I'm gonna get sponsored by HelloFresh. You never know, but like it's highly unlikely. Add first, add last. Yeah, those ones can just go. Same with remove. Because those don't have a priority. So Like, they just happen. It's not like a priority thing. It just happens. So we want to use put unique ID step, and then we want to do this operation.add. We want to create a new operation and then just return it, I think. So I'm forgetting something. I don't think I am. Remove. We'll just go ahead. It does not contain. Throw it. Remove it. Remove it. Remove it. Remove it. Contains. We'll just look it up. And then this one we'll just also look it up. Yeah. We want a way to obviously build this into the actual onboarding flow. So this is actually going to be the hard method, basically. So onboarding flow, build. We want a list of string order is equal to a new array list of our base order. Even if someone sponsored him, he'd only get like 15. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean that's why they don't sponsor when you don't have that many subs, because it's just not worth it for them, you know. And are people really interested in even taking sponsors that don't earn them hardly anything? Debatable, you know. So that's why I'm honestly not too fussed about it. You know, if I had like 50k subs, then sure, you know. But I don't, so does Corbin have sponsors? I don't think so. I think he's got like a partnership with like Bisect Hosting or something. Anyone can get that as far as I know. I don't think you earn anything from that. It's just like you get free server or something. I don't know. I remember I looked into it and I don't think I cared enough. Sorry. Order dot skip first. Yeah, if it doesn't contain the first one. We'll come back to that. We want a map of string to a list of operation, which is going to be the before operations, and then we want the after operations, and then basically we just want to figure that out. Right, it is kind of just doing that for me. Has it done it correct though? I guess that's the big question. And he promotes his courses. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's where he gets all his money from. His courses, so I don't think he really needs sponsors, I guess. I mean, I honestly wouldn't complain, you know, if I got a sponsor. Getbrain sponsored his Lifetime Intelligent Ultimate license, but it's not monetary sponsoring. Ah, I did not know that. I know they did they gave him like Twitch stuff or something. I didn't know it went any deeper than that, to be honest. Will Railroad support Cosmic Reach? What is Cosmic Reach? Is that something I should know what that is? What is cosmic reach? I've looked up cosmic reach and I still don't know what cosmic reach is. Cosmic Reach is apparently a game that looks like Minecraft. Or is like a weird copy of Minecraft. I mean, honestly, it's the kind of thing where, like, this is why I'm developing these systems, because the entire idea of these systems is that it allows for plugins, right? So if you wanted to write a plugin for that kind of thing, there would be nothing to stop you from doing that, right? You'd have to write the plugin, of course, you know, but like there would be nothing to stop you from doing it, and that's the entire reason, pretty much, that I'm writing these systems. I could have left it how it was. It was like fine-ish. Like, it wasn't great, but it was good enough. Yeah, but basically rewriting these systems is partially because of plugins, but also it does obviously clean up the general developer experience as well, which is always a good thing. But, you know, they just randomly joined on Twitch chat a few years ago and offered it to him. Yeah, that is, yeah, I did see that stream. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. They must just go on Twitch and look for like people streaming with JetBrains products, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I should stream on Twitch. But, you know, I originally started streaming on Twitch, the Minecraft modding stuff. I just realized that no one ever watched it on Twitch. Everyone always watched on YouTube, so I didn't continue on Twitch. Probably I didn't actually try for long enough, if I'm being completely honest. But where did you learn how to code? I learned in a way that I would not recommend you learn. But I basically just learned through trial and error of Minecraft modding. But I don't recommend people do that, because it took me many years, a lot longer than it would take someone who has learnt it properly. So you can use the University, why did I say it like that? The University of Helsinki course, which is pretty good, which Alex has just linked in chat as well. And the other thing I would recommend you do is just give yourself projects to do. The most important thing about learning to program is that you have motivation, right? You need to want to do it, otherwise you just won't do it. Like, it just, you know, it just won't happen if you're not motivated. You have to be motivated. Which is something I've seen over and over again from people who are just like struggling to learn it, is that they just don't have motivation to do it. You see it all the time. It's very common. You have to consider, like, if you want to make something, right? And this thing in you know, it requires that you know programming, right? Whatever it may be. Yeah, probably a Minecraft mod, since you're here. Yeah, in that case, you have to consider that if you want to do that thing, you need to learn to be able to program. So, where am I going with this? I've just completely lost my train of thought, and I don't know how I've just lost my train of thought. I don't know. I just lost my train of thought. But you need to want to do it, is basically what I'm trying to say. You need to have that motivation. If you don't have the fundamental motivation to learn it, you're not going to learn it. Like, it just won't happen. It's the same reason that, like, things you learn in school, you don't remember them as soon as you stop doing them, because one, you were forced to do it, right? You weren't motivated to learn it. You just had to get it done, right? And also partially because you never used it as well. But, you know, it's kind of like just motivation is the big thing. And also learning how to break down something big into smaller parts. Yes, definitely. That is actually extremely important. I would strongly agree. This is fine, I think. 3% add operation. Yeah, I think so. This is fine. But yeah, I mean, being able to break things down is crucial, right? You can't. You got to break a big idea down into smaller steps, because if you can't break a big idea down into smaller steps, then you'll just get like incredibly overwhelmed. Like, for example, even what I'm doing right now, right? Or maybe not this, because this is somewhat a little bit more complicated, but, and you probably could do it at this, but it's probably too complicated to demonstrate. But say, for example, what's a good example in Railroad of breaking something down into smaller steps? Yeah, the problem with Railroad is a lot of the systems are very big. So, like, yes, you have to break them down to smaller steps, but you have to break them down a lot into, like, a lot of smaller steps, which isn't good for me to show you as an example. I don't know. Going through everything and see if I can find something that looks like. Okay, I mean, sure. What we're working on right now, right? The onboarding. You have to break it down into like what actually is onboarding. So onboarding is just a list of steps. How should you define a step? Well, the best way to define a step is just having some kind of ID for it, right? Some identifier to identify that it's a step. So obviously the easiest way to create an identifier is just a string, because that means you can just name it to be something, right? So then once you have each of the steps, you want to, you have to figure out what is a step, right? What does each step actually have? So each step will have some kind of form, right? So if we look at the onboarding step, you see that's why I added in a form, right? Each step has a title because there's a title of the step. It's telling you to do something, so you put in a title. You need to know if the step is ready to be moved to the next step, so you have to have some way to know if it's valid. So you add, you know, I've added a read-only boolean property, but you could add something simpler, of course, to validate it. It's that kind of thing. Just break things down into smaller things and you'll find they're so much easier to do. And also breaking things down makes it easier to Google. You know, you can't Google something super specific, but you can break down, you can break it down and Google something not very specific. That's a skill that I think people are not going to have in the near future. Googling. You know, as soon as AI starts properly taking over, which it kind of already is, but like once people start growing up, I think with AI, they're not going to know how to Google things anymore, which means that they're not going to know how to break things down. And suddenly it will become very, very, it'll become pretty rare to find anyone who knows how to actually break down a problem and solve it. Is this fine? I'm actually honestly getting very lost in this code. We don't want to reverse it, do we? Hello, Wide. Welcome. What's the chat? What do you mean? What's the chat, Wide? What does that mean? What is this new phrase you've come up with? Yeah, we want to do something like that because we want to compare. Maybe it'd be easier to get a job if half the applicants are vibe coders? Maybe? I think the problem is it's going to take a long time before companies start realizing that AI isn't the way to go. Because currently it is just this like big trend. So I think kind of until that's able to settle down, you know, I don't know. I think you know, AI is going to write some code at some point. It's going to write some code for a big company. And the code that it writes is going to, you know, it'll probably be written by AI and then it'll be reviewed by AI. And I bet at some point that's going to happen and it's going to expose a vulnerability. There'll be a big vulnerability. It'll be some massive like news story of like, I don't know, they've lost billions of pounds of money, or they've had a massive data leak, or whatever it is, right? And there'll be some massive news story. But they won't be able to hire anyone to friggin' solve it because everyone left is friggin' vibe coders, man. And it would just be this like big, there'll be just be this big shortage of programmers. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm completely and utterly incorrect, but it's possible. Okay, I can't lie, guys. I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna stop copying. It's funny because I'm talking about vibe coding, and then that's effectively what I'm doing right now. I don't recommend it, chat. I will probably actually come back and rewrite this because I genuinely don't really know what this is doing. But I just want to get something working, at least for now. And then yeah, we'll kind of go from there. I don't understand what these quote-unquote virtual markers are, but sure. Onboarding flow, what is this? Step, that is step lookup. What do you think about Siege being moved to subsidiary Vantage Studios? Do you think it'll be good for the game? I think it has potential to swing either way, to be honest. I think it could be good. I think it could be bad. I think it could have absolutely no effect, to be honest. I think the more likely scenario is that it has no effect because the friggin' CEO of Vantage Studios is the son of the CEO of Ubisoft. So, I'll be honest, I don't think it's gonna make any difference. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't know. And obviously there's a lot of investor funding in it now, so maybe they'll get more money. No, not operator. What am I looking for? I'm looking for oh my god, what am I looking for? Onboarding stat. onboarding step. That took me. Is that not right? No, that's not right. That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for that. No? Oh, it's a list of operations. Oh, yes, it is. I thought... Okay, this isn't what I... This isn't what I thought. List of operations. String, yeah. And then this is what, a list of operations? What is your spiciest take? I'm not saying that. Bro's trying to get me cancelled. I don't know. I don't actually have any like particularly spicy takes. I don't think. Not that I can think of. Because the thing is, I don't care about stuff that much. I genuinely, I don't care about like anything enough to have like a spiciest take. Because I just don't care about the majority of things. I mean, it's got 10-cent affiliation, so there's potentially for more money to be pumped in the game. Yeah, but since it's 10-cent, it also means like it could also be pumped with microtransactions. So the thing is, Siege is rapidly kind of losing its player base at the moment because they're just not adding shit anymore. I think they're going to be forced to like lock in because now they have these investors as well. They're going to expect it. They'll be expecting more money to start coming in. So I think they either have two choices. One, they lock the fuck in and just start adding loads of shit that people want them to add. Or two, they just pump it with microtransactions. It's the two options. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So we have the onboarding flow. This is a mess of the class. We still want... No, we don't want steps, actually. We just want the context. So we want the onboarding context. Like that. Context. And then we want the constructor. Constructor. Thank you. What's happening with Forge? Forge is dead. But it's not dead. Like, some people are still using it. But not many people are using it. The best way to find out what's happening with a specific mod loader is to honestly just go on Curse Forge. And just look at how many results come up for the loader you select, or modRenf, or both if you want more accurate results. Just put both in and you get more accurate results. Kind of. modRenf is generally more fabric mods, but I think fabric still has the most mods, like total. But then you also have to consider that, like, quantity doesn't mean quality. You know, as much as I do want to glaze fabric, quantity just doesn't mean quality. So a lot of fabric mods are just vanilla plus mods. Admittedly, I wish it wasn't that way, and I think it doesn't have to be that way, but it just is that way. So it's a shame. They sold pretty hard with CJX. I think it could have been bigger, but like now it's back to no content per season and recycled modes. Yeah, I think, yeah, CJX had a lot of potential, but they just didn't. They just didn't, you know, deliver it. So, is this just lookup ID, or is this oh no, it's gotta be step order dot get ID. Step order like that dot get. Oh no, it was right, lookup ID. No? Oh, because this is a supplier. Silly me. Any modding drama? I don't know. Has there been any modding drama recently? Good question. I don't think so. But to be honest, I also haven't really... I generally just haven't been that active in the modding community recently. Like at all. So I wouldn't know, even if there was. Even in like and also I'm also banned from like a lot of places, so you know. What am I doing? This isn't right. I wanted step dot on enter, which takes in the context. That doesn't need joining. So that does that, and then before next, and then on exits. But in the middle here, we need some kind of like we need to wait for the UI to validate, right? So we need to wait for step oh my god, step dot valid property, and I guess we just have to wait for that. Like, I don't really know how we wait for that, admittedly. Valided. Oh dear. I guess we just want a while loop, don't we? Does this happen in a separate thread? Good question. Also, yeah, that can be enhanced for loop. That doesn't need to be I guess we need the... I guess we don't have the UI, right? We don't have... Or do we? Do we have the step? Ah, we do. So what we can do is we can say... well, it's kind of... I don't know. I think we'll come back to this. We'll try and get the rest of it wired up and we'll come back to this. Basically, this valid needs to be... And this needs to be bound to the next button and the previous button. So those buttons will need to be bound to that. But we don't currently have that. So... we can't do that right now. I'm just thinking like this, for example. Do we need this? I don't think we actually need this. Right? Yeah, I don't think this needs to exist anymore. Does this need to exist? Yes, this needs to exist. This needs to exist. This needs to exist. This doesn't need to exist. Basically, those two that we just deleted were for conditional things, which we don't necessarily want. So that's why we don't need those anymore. Okay, let's try and like implement something. I think would be a good way to proceed. I feel like I'm going to come back and rewrite all of this. I can't lie, guys. Am I wasting my time right now? Am I wasting my time and your time? I'm just trying to think, because the thing is, if I'm going to come back and rewrite this, then there's no point in me doing it right now. Right? It's kind of back to what I said previously in the stream. I don't structure things well on stream. I really don't. Which is a little bit of a problem. Like, I really need to stream when I already have a structure. Of which I do not have right now. Well, what's something you won't have to rewrite? Well, nothing. That's the point. I just feel like onboarding doesn't need this many classes. Like, you shouldn't have to have... Like, this is so unnecessary. See, I think it's... The problem is this. This is unnecessarily complicated, and it's getting confusing. But I have to have all of these things. It's the plugins, man. The friggin' plugins are making this so unnecessarily complicated. You know what I could do? I could develop the onboarding system without plugins in mind, and then try and refactor it afterwards. But I don't know if that's a good idea either. You know what we can do? Actually, can we? I'm just trying to think, like, can we add just the UI? Maybe. What's the plugin that makes equals and wrong clear? That is not a plugin. That is just a setting. And it's called ligatures. I think it's a font setting. You have to have a specific... You have to have a supported font. So like JetBrains Mono. Or... I think there's some other ones as well, but primarily JetBrains ones. I'm honestly, guys, I'm not happy with this onboarding stuff. I think it can be done better. I think something like this is fine. The context is fine because this just has an executor and it has a map of data. That's all the context needs. The flow itself, I think, is fine. I think I'm partially not understanding this. Like, how does this come into play? And then you got like the flow editor, and then you have the flow builder. I think what I can do is I can do this. I can do this, delete them. And then what are we left with? We're left with the step, which is just fine. We're left with the process. Process just has the flow and the context. Does it need the context though? Or should the context just be passed into run? How hard do you think it is to automatically do indentations and curly braces in the code editor? Pain and suffering. So, yeah. This is, yeah. Man. I think this could be better. I'm not sure this is necessarily the best way to actually run the process itself, because we can't bind it to the UI here. Like, yeah, because we can enter the step, right? So that's fine. We get the step, and then we enter the step. But once we've entered the step, we need to wait, right? We need to wait until the step is valid. Now the problem with this is we can't do that. What we could do maybe is implement runnable. And then what we could do is we could run this as a thread. Or, even better, I have an idea. What we can do, I'm going to keep this. That's fine. I'm going to do a new task. Okay. Basically putting it in a new thread, right? So it doesn't block up the original thread. Why is this complaining? Target type of Lambda interface must be an interface. Yeah, because a task, you don't do it like that. You do. How do you do it? Oh, you do like this, don't you? And then you override the actual method inside there. Like, I don't remember exactly how you do it, but it's like new task. This one. But why can it not just like implement methods? There we go. And then I can do dot run. Right. And then inside of call, I basically do this. But what that allows me to do is, first of all, I can platform.run later these, right? So I can do platform.run later on enter, which means that on enter is running. Yes, that means that's running on the UI thread. And then same with these. So on exit can also run platform.run later on exit. Before next, we don't want to run on the UI thread because this one actually does a join. So that will block this thread until that's done. That's fine. It's a little bit deceiving because this one's UI thread, this one's UI thread, this one's not. It's also slightly different though, like these are just slightly different, so I think that's fine. And then basically what we could do here is say, while it's not valid, if it's cancelled, we exit. Yeah, we also want to do this though, right? Right, and then we sleep. So 100 milliseconds, just time to wait, right? That's fine. And then what we can do is, because we have this valid property, yeah, we can basically bind that now to the buttons. So if we go ahead and grab the step itself, in here we have a form. Now we probably don't want a form. Yeah, see, we have a submit button and a reset button. The submit button, no, even so that wouldn't work either. So we're going to need some kind of like additional wrapper of a form. So let's create a like a onboarding section. We'll call it that. This is going to have a private final form. And then we're also going to have a private final button, or yeah, button, which will be the previous button. And then we also have a next button as well. Not that one. There you go. Okay, now I don't want to actually have those in there. I want them to be a new RR button. I think we have railroad.generic.previous. And I think we have railroad.generic.next. But let's quickly check. Lang. I need to at some point set up, what do you call it? What's the translation thing called? Translation app website. What's it called? Oh my god, what's it called? I'm trying to find it on Google and I can't freaking find it. What's it called? Translation, software, translation, contribution? What am I thinking of? Come on, Gemini, tell me. Bro, it's not coming up. What am I thinking of? The big one, bro. Every single freaking company uses this thing, and I can't think of what it's called. You guys know what I mean, anyways. I need to set that up at some point. Do I have previous and next? I have next. I have back. Back will do. Back. Back makes more sense anyways. If we have next and back rather than... What are you looking for? I'm looking for the website that lets you contribute translations. Like Minecraft uses it, and I can't think of what it's called. It's literally on the tip of my tongue, bro. Oh, it's gonna really bug me. Is it called Crowdin? That's it. That took me way too long to figure out. Yeah, I wanted to add that at some point. But I had some problems with it. I couldn't really figure it out. I'm probably just being dumb. I'm sure it's not that hard. This is fine. I just need some getters. Guitar, there we go. Yep, everyone, make sure you're staying hydrated. Drink that water. I'm actually weirdly dehydrated right now. Don't know why. I haven't actually drunk anything all day, so that's probably why. Rip, found out my fish is dead that I had for 6 years. Rip. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm surprised that goldfish even live for 6. Can't goldfish live for like a crazy amount of time? Isn't it like 30 years or something? How long do goldfish live for? Yeah, not quite 30 years. Goldfish can live for 10 to 15 years on average. Okay, no, hold up. Some varieties can live for 20 years or even up to 30 years. I knew it. I knew it. Because I was watching... I don't know what I was watching. But something told me that, like, they can live longer. But it's not about, like... I don't think it's about, like... I mean, obviously it's the conditions you keep them in, but I think the conditions they were in before you got them is, like, a big deal to how long they live. Not necessarily just the conditions you keep them in. I mean, some people keep like fish in like very poor conditions. You know, like I think you're meant to like clean the tanks like once every 2 weeks. I don't know anyone that does that. Like anyone. So, you know. I think this is fine. So what does this do? So while it's not valid, if it's cancelled, cancel it, else just sleep. And it's fine. Right? I mean actually what we could do here. Oh no, because that returns null. My fishes died within like 2 weeks. I think they were caught in an illness. Damn, bro. Are you sure you had the right water? You know, like tropical fish, you need to have like warm water, and it needs to have this that stuff in it. The tropical stuff, or like, you know, it's got to be the right temperature and shit. I mean, goldfish can live in like any conditions, I think. Goldfish are like the resilient. I mean, we have a fish tank, but I kind of want to get like some shrimp and put some shrimp in it. I think that'd be sick. Shrimp are so cool, man. Because you can apparently get like tropical shrimp as well. I did not know. And it makes sense, but you know. Anyways, this should be fine. We just need to bind the buttons. So if we do step, yeah, so step.form needs to be replaced. So instead of this being a form, this needs to be a onboarding section, which will be the section and then we do step dot section dot back button. Do we want to set disable? Well, only if we have a previous one, right? So we can say like boolean, or we can say string, or actually an even better way to do this would be to turn this into a for I loop. So with indexed for loop, and then basically say set disable I is equal 0, and then basically next button dot set disable valid.get, but this needs to be like a disabled button or disabled property dot bind to valid dot not, so the inverse of whether or not it's valid. That should be fine. Yeah, that should be fine. We could probably sleep for like, not just 100 milliseconds, that's like 0.1 of a second, right? So I think that's probably fine. Do you think we're going to be able to test it this stream? I think unfortunately not. But maybe. I mean, I hope so. But realistically, there's like a lot of UI work to do. But you know what? We can try it now. We just need to actually like try and integrate it, which is debatably the hardest part, but we're gonna give it a go. So let's create a new package. I'm just going to create an import package. This is somewhat temporary, I think, but we'll try for now. Fabric, project, onboarding. Okay. So how do we want to do this? This is not. So we have the process. Is the process what we want, or do we want the flow? Well, we're going to want a section. No, we're going to want a process. And then we pass the flow and the context to the process. So yes. Okay, so let's create a public void start, right? And then what we will do is we'll have some kind of like I mean, we basically just want to make the process, right? We want the onboarding process dot new dot var, which is the process, and then this needs the two things. So the two things are the flow and the context. So we're going to create the flow. So var flow equal to a new onboarding flow. Now the onboarding flow requires the step order and the lookup. Now this is why we originally had the flow editor and the flow builder, because otherwise this is kind of a pain to do. It'll be fine for now. We'll kind of just hard code it for now, and then we'll kind of come back to that. So first of all, this should probably be here. Not that it really matters, but it's just like to define the order before you've defined to define the order before you've defined the lookup doesn't really make sense. So we're just gonna switch these around like that. Okay, so first we have the sections, which is going to be a map. So we're going to start with, let's just keep it basic for now. Well, in fact, should we just do some random like things and not anything like proper? Or should we try and do something proper? Let's try and do something proper. So let's try with the more basic stuff. So we'll try with just the it's funny because it kind of knows what I want, but not quite what I want. I mean, we could do it in that order. I think we'll go project name and directory first, though. Yeah. So let's do project details, which will be the project details section, and then we're going to have the Minecraft version, which will be the Minecraft version section, and then we can go from there, of course, but I just want to leave it at that for now. And then we just want a list of project details Minecraft version, right? Nice and simple. Obviously, this is why we would have the builder, because the builder would just mean that whatever we define here would be the same as this, but that's fine for now. And then we can just say the flow, and we can give it the context as well. So a new onboarding context, which will just take in executors. We can just actually create that as a field, so private final executor service. Wait, what does it want? Executor. What is an executor? We've got an executor. Is that executor service? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, I wasn't sure, but yes, it is. So executor is equal executors. Got new fixed thread pool. We'll just say four threads for now. Actually, come back to it. Yeah, so that's all the context needs, right? And the context will just carry the data across. So at the very end, we have the context, and it's picked up all the data through each of the steps. That's the idea, right? So let's create a project details section. So I'm just going to create it all in this class for now, just for simplicity. So this will implement a I've called it a section, but that's not correct. It's a step. I think that's Copilot's fault, really. Step. There we go. So this will implement the onboarding step like that. And we're just going to implement the methods. Boom. Okay, so first of all, it has the ID. So that is just going to be project details. Once again, the builder would have helped with that, but that's fine. We'll just do project details and enter the basic details. Sure. Obviously, later on, we're going to want this to be translatable, but for now, that's fine. We need the section as well, so let's create a new onboarding section. We'll come back to that one. We're going to want a private final Boolean property. Valid is equal to a new simple Boolean property. Like that. And then this will just return valid like that. Yeah, we don't want to do anything on enter right now. But basically the idea is that in like on enter, we could take data from the previous stage and we could do something with it. We obviously don't have that because no up. This is the first step. But in on exit, we might want to actually go ahead and set some data, right? So for example, the from the form we can go ahead and grab, for example, the project name and the path as well. So we can create a private final onboarding section is equal to new onboarding section, and then we can actually just return this dot section like that. And inside of here we need to give it the form, of course. So for the form, let's just copy paste this. I'm going to create a method to create this create section. And the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to want a lot more things in here. In fact, what we could do is we could have this section like this, but we're probably going to want other things as well. So we'll actually just create a constructor. So for example, we're going to want the form as well. So let's do a private final form, and alt enter. Nope. Okay. Form. And then we're going to want some other things as well. So for example, we're going to want a private final object property of a text field, I think. Text field, which will be the project name field. And then we're also going to want the path, but we'll come back to that one because I don't remember exactly how you do that. So then what we can do is we can create a text field component, which will be the project name is equal to form component dot text field. Apparently it's directory chooser. What does this return? Directory chooser component, which is a text field. Okay, that's what I thought. So we'll also have a private final object property of text field, which will be the project location as well. So this will be a text field like that. We need the data key, so this will be the project name, and then it will have the label as well. So I can actually just go ahead and copy that from from here. In fact, we can just copy these entire things, really. Both of them. That'll do. Okay, so we can do .build, and then we can do .var, which will just go ahead and create the project name like that. And this will bind to project name field. So this just needs to be equal to a new simple object property like that. I'm not sure we actually need to bind them. We probably don't actually, but it's fine. Let's rename this to project path field, so that allows that to immediately do its thing. We don't care about the listener right now. We'll come back to it. This will just be a text field component, and then we want dot build like that, and we don't want the listener right now. Nope, this is actually a directory chooser component. There we go. And then all we need to do is say this dot form dot create, and then we can do append section, and then we can do form section dot create, which I think has a name. Yes, it does. So once again, I'm actually gonna come into here, and I'm just gonna copy the key for this. In fact, I can just copy this part. That. So project name, they probably should be component, but once again, this doesn't really matter. So that need that, and then that needs to be built. There isn't like anything else after. I do want to disable both the buttons actually, so disable reset button and disable submit button. Like that. And then basically what that means, yeah, that's fine. So then what we can do is say this dot section is equal to a new onboarding section, which takes in the form. Okay, now the valid property needs to actually be like set, right? So we need to add a listener, and the listener will basically modify that property. So we can add a listener. Valid.set project.validate project name. Name field dot, yeah, it just gets that. Validate path, and basically what that do is that will do most of the logic for us. So project validate just kind of takes over, which is fine. That's all we need. Let's just rename these two components so this is actually at least a little bit readable. Okay, and it doesn't like the form, but that's fine because inside on exit we want to actually go ahead and use those. So we want to do context dot put, and we want to put project name, and we can set this to be equal to this dot form. Well, we actually don't need to get it from the form. In fact, you know what we can do? Because the form has a validate method. That's a shame. I wish that was a Boolean property. Because if that was a Boolean property, there isn't like an on validate or something, is there? No, that's unfortunate. Kind of wish there was. Okay, that'll do for now then. So we'll just put in here project name field .get text project path. So that'll just put that in the data. And that's basically it for that one. This form can just be a local field. Okay. So that's that one. And then we just need to make the other one, which will be for the Minecraft version, which is actually going to be a little bit more complicated. So let's create a static class, Minecraft version step. It is always valid. That's true. Yeah, so that's obviously not correct. We do actually want the private final object property of a combo box of a Minecraft version, which will be the Minecraft version combo box. And then we just need to do a combo box component of a Minecraft version. The Minecraft version component, which will be a combo box, which has the data key, then it has the label, then it has the item class. Then we have the items. Now, this is where things get a little bit more complicated because we don't want to. We don't want to just have a hard-coded list, of course. So we need to actually fetch the Minecraft versions. Best way to do that is obviously switchboard. So we'll do switchboard repositories.minecraft. We can hello, Mr. Junior Monkey. Welcome to the stream. Isn't there a way to get? Oh, maybe not. Okay, so wait, don't I have a way? No, I actually want Fabric, don't I? I want Fabric API, and I want to get all versions. Do I? I want to get all of the Minecraft versions for Fabric. How did I do that in here? Apply Fabric loader versions, fetch Fabric API versions. Apply Minecraft versions. No, I want a way to fetch the Minecraft versions. How did I do that? Apply Minecraft versions. Resolve Fabric Minecraft versions. Aha. Voila. So basically I just want to do this. And we can actually just do dot join and get rid of that. Get rid of that. So obviously that means it won't happen asynchronously. Yeah, that means it won't happen asynchronously. But this is where we can use our future, right? So like here in on enter, we want to grab our versions, right? So we want our private final observable. Well, it doesn't have to be an observable list. We can just have a list of Minecraft version available versions, and then basically what we can do is we can take this, and inside on enter we can do dot . we can do this dot available versions dot add all. Boom, boom. That's it. And then this will have, well, it won't have a no op actually, because this will do context dot put Minecraft version, and then that basically just gets the selected Minecraft version. This is complaining just because it's a duplicate. That's fine. So then the items will just return available versions, and I think I have a, yeah, I have that by default. This is looking for I don't know what this is looking for. I think it's looking for the cell factory. This is an annoying thing I haven't fixed yet. But if I look in here and I look for the Minecraft version, I can just copy paste this one, which will save some time. Yeah, this one. So it's required. I should probably say the other one's required, but that's fine. Yeah, these ones. This will be desktop available versions. We'll come back to this method in a second. Translate false dot build like that. I don't think there's anything else hiding under here. Nope. So yeah, I just need this method right here, which is, this method's pretty simple. Yeah, perfect. Okay. All this method does is it just basically filters out the Minecraft version to see if it's one that we're acceptable with having. So we want to check that it's not null, and we just check that it's a release version. We find the first one, or else we just get the first one in the list. So yeah, that's fine. This is the Minecraft version component. Append component. And I think, methinkies, that's it. Why are you complaining? Oh. Yes. That's true. So we don't have to actually create the step in here. We can just do like this. Nice. And then all we have to do is process dot, it's not start, it's run, isn't it? Process dot run, which doesn't need to happen in a new thread because this starts up a new task. So I think that's it. Now obviously we do have a minor issue, and that is we don't actually have the UI. So this is actually, funnily enough, going to be the hardest part. Like just creating the UI. And to be honest, we don't really have time for it today. Well, yeah, because the thing is, the process we have in the process, we have the, where is it? Yes, in the steps, in each step, we have the section, right? So this is the actual UI, effectively. I mean, it's not, but it is, right? We kind of just need a way to create the actual UI from this. Let's create a public node create UI. So obviously the the form can create its own UI, right? That's fine. So this will be the form UI. But then we also want a border pane. So we want we want a border pane, and then probably at the bottom we want a H box, and in the H box we have the back button, a region, and then the next button. So I guess it's pretty simple UI in theory. So var root is equal to a new border pane. We're going to try and get this done real quick today. I think we can do this. We set the center that button par. This is going to be well, I guess that could work. Sure. Root.set button bar return root. Left and right. That might work. It might be a bit weird, but it might work. So that creates the UI. So all we have left to do is we need a way to, I guess, return the UI from this or something. Yeah, I think so. The UI, although, should be set in the process because the step is what gets us the UI. So how would we get that back out? That has to come back out somehow. And it has to come out to... well, to here. Either that, or we pass like a stage into the run method, I guess. We could try that real quick, just as like a temporary solution. So if we do a stage, or we can do a scene, to be honest, which will be the scene. We can pass the scene into the run method. Get rid of implements runnable so that we can actually do that. Scene. And then we can do step on enter. Which actually doesn't need to run there. Like at all. That doesn't need to run on the platform thread. And to be honest, neither does on exit. And I think about it. So that's fine. The only thing that should is this. Let's just do that real quick. Ah, we can't do that because of freaking Java. I hate you. Yeah. That's fine. So after on enter is called, then what we want to do is create the actual UI, right? So that's the point at which we say step dot section dot create UI dot bar UI, and then we do platform dot run later scene dot set root UI. Shit, that doesn't work because this needs to be a parent, which means that create UI needs to be a parent, which is fine, admittedly. And then all we need to do, we're almost there, chat. The final thing we need to do to test this is call the start method. So where are we going to call this, you ask? Well, that's a good question. I guess I'll just replace the main method, like where I'm doing set scene. Yes, I mean, that'll work. All I just need to do is I need to do remove me. So then what we'll do is we'll do var test scene equal to a new scene. Only problem, the scene has to have something, so actually that's not going to work. Actually, that's fine though. So what we can do is we can do a new fabric project onboarding dot start, and we're going to start with the primary, not primary, we're going to start with the scene. And in theory, if the theory is to be correct, it should work. Come on, fingers crossed. I'm gonna have missed something. I don't know what I've missed. Okay, the fact that the fact that nothing has opened is very, very interesting. Let's start. New process.run. New task. Scene.set root UI. Interesting. Why did nothing happen? Is it the task? Should I be doing... What might be better to do is to do a new thread. And then just pass in a runnable. Right. And just return. And then... Don't need to return there. But then I just need to do... .start. Now, obviously, that's going to complain. This is fine. We just need to sleep. Random try catch. Exception. Oops, don't do that. We'll just do that. Sure. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. I reckon it's probably the task that broke that. Okay. Okay, chat. Things are looking okay so far. Okay. The next button isn't valid though. Interestingly. I don't know why. This is because it's not empty, but I don't think that's the issue. I mean, it's kind of worked. I'm just not entirely sure why the next button isn't. Next button .disable property .bind valid .not. What's wrong with that? Unless valid isn't being updated, which is actually the probably more likely scenario, is that in here, these listeners, so valid.set, validate project name, validate path. I'm gonna guess that's wrong. We can actually debug this real quick. Maybe we can actually get this figured out today. We don't care about. Well, we can quickly have a step through and just have a quick look-sees. Valid is equal. Valid is false. Yeah, and then that should get stuck in that loop. That's fine. But in theory, if I change this, so valid.set validate project name, step into validate project name. Okay, and then the field is I don't know why I can't find out what the text is, so we'll just have to look. The text is A. Okay, if it's less than 3 errors, so that's why that's failing right now. So let me just remove this breakpoint for a second. A. And then I'll hit the breakpoint again, and we'll see what happens if I type another one. Validate project name. Next. Okay. If text matches, so that should be okay. Oh, because it's saying if it's equal to null. That's not correct, is it? Right? It's not going to be equal to null. It's saying status is equal status dot we'll say if it's not equal to error, right? And this dot status is not equal error. And then basically we'll do the exact same thing here. I don't know if I can hotshot that or not. I think so. So then in theory, okay, what if I do this? Hey, okay. So we've got the next button correctly bound. So if I only have 2 characters, aka it's not valid, then you can't go next. Okay, so if I go next, I should also be able to go back, in theory. Okay, I can't go next, so yeah. I assume we're here right now. No? What happened? Where are we? Oh, nothing happens when I press the buttons. Because I didn't tell it to do anything. Right? That's why. Oh, wait, no. It's because as soon as it's valid... Wait. Yeah. As soon as it's valid, it just goes on to the next one. That's why. That's not what it's meant to do. Or am I crazy? I don't know. Either way, that's enough for this stream. We are going to be live again tomorrow, usual time, 7 PM BST. So yeah, I am going to end it here. We've actually made decent progress. We've actually like kind of got it working, so I'm pretty content with that. So yeah, I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.